How to talk to anyone, social anxiety, shyness, and body language explained. Written by Craig Yeager. Narrated by Queenie Walsh. Chapter 1. Small Talk in Therapy. Jane bounces into her session. How are you? How's your week going? I guess that's your question, huh? She smiles and stirs her coffee. Can you believe this weather? I mean, wow. It sure is hot. She settles into her chair. Did you see the Laker game Sunday? I do not know what is wrong with them. If they do not keep playing D, the Celts are gonna sweep the series like Boston needs another champion. Is that a new t-shirt? Jane is making small talk. She's chit-chatting, chewing the fat, shooting the breeze, and/or bull. Astute insight into the NBA Finals aside, Jane appears all set to go over every little thing except herself. In the vein of client empowerment, I have got 3 things to say about small talk. Number 1, clients are permitted to discuss anything they want. Number 2, clients should never feel obligated to make small talk. Number 3, if it becomes a big part of treatment, there could be an issue. You're welcome to shoot the breeze with your therapist. It's your penny and your time. You can discuss anything you choose: weather, sports, style, politics, television shows, trivia. All sections of the paper are fair game. Some therapists could ask why you have chosen today's topic, or suggest other items to talk about, but you do not need to bite. Small talk isn't forbidden. You can guide the boat in any direction you'd like. Having said that, talk in therapy can be an enormous waste of your money and time. Let's say you banter for the first 10 minutes of each session. You pay $100 per session, and you're in treatment a year. Your table talk will cost you around $1,000 for the year. In our inflated economy, that's like 12 tanks of gas or 2 tickets to a Laker game. It's also eating up the same as 10 sessions of your precious time that could be spent addressing your problems. Some clients believe they really need to make small talk. It's tempting to apply the exact same social customs from other relationships to therapy. When you get in a store or meet someone new, it is appropriate to break the ice with safe small talk. But treatment works in a different way. No therapist would be upset or consider it impolite if you dismissed the pleasantries and solved down to business. So why do some feel it's needed to kick the session off with small talk? Perhaps they feel the need to make casual conversation for the therapist's sake. They may feel sorry for this separated expert, alone in their office all the time without anyone to talk with at the water cooler. Even if this is actually true, it is not your job to take care of the therapist's emotions. Therapists need to find time to meet their social and support needs through friends, family, and associates outside their work. We need interacting socially as much as the next individual, but not at your expense. Some clients feel their own interacting socially needs aren't met outside treatment, so their session becomes their own water cooler. It would be worthwhile to resolve this in therapy. The absence of a social or support network could be an essential problem to take on. More frequently, chit-chat is associated with the discomfort of beginning the session. As I wrote last week, it can be difficult to downshift into treatment mode when you're entering from the busyness of life. Small talk provides a shift, We're together, we are speaking with each other, the content is light and non threatening. The talk can help you unwind, reconnect with the therapist, and prepare you to dive into much deeper issues. Each are important, but there may be a more effective way to accomplish these exact same goals. It can also be a way to stall. It's obvious that some work in therapy hurts and tiresome. One part of you knows you actually really need to dive into hard material, while another wants to consume time with chit chat to stay away from the sting. The desire to avoid pain is humanity and absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. However, in some cases, you need to endure pain to experience growth and relief. I motivate you to roll up your sleeves and take advantage of your therapy session. Save the banter for other acquaintances and get down to business in your treatment. However, like I said, it is your choice, your time, your money. If you feel stuck in this pattern of talk, here are some pointers. Show up early to gather your thoughts. Relax and think about what you wish to deal with in the session. This may enable you to downshift before getting in the session. As you unwind in the waiting room, ask yourself, what did I notice about myself today? Your answer could be the opening line for your session. If you find yourself in a gab fest, ask yourself if there's something you're avoiding. Don't be amazed if your therapist beats you to it. Chapter 2: The Blessings of Shyness. Have you ever been told that you're shy? Maturing? Did you hear admonitions like, don't be bashful? You're not alone. In our extroverted society, being assertive, if not aggressive, is valued. Being introverted, reflective, or shy tends to be denigrated. Is shyness a bad thing or something to value about ourselves? Shyness or social anxiety. Terms like social phobia and social anxiety disorder refer to circumstances in which an individual experiences considerable fear and distress in social circumstances. Physical symptoms might include excessive blushing, sweating, or trembling. There may be an avoidance of situations that set off emotional distress or humiliation. Although there could sometimes be an overlap, being shy doesn't equate with social anxiety. Shyness is a quality that is just part of being human. Judging ourselves for being shy adds a layer of shame on a very tender and even desirable aspect of ourselves. Shyness and vulnerability. Most of us feel shy at times. Some of us are just more skilled at covering it up with defenses. Perhaps the smooth-talking, lovely writers at parties are hiding a deeper vulnerability. They want to look good so that they will be liked, and it may be difficult for us to feel a connection with people who hide the shy, tender part of themselves. Being shy indicates that we are sensitively attuned to our environment. As our antenna scans for security, we shy away from the ones that appear critical or judgmental. There could be an intelligence that informs such shyness, guiding us clear of unsafe people and circumstances. When a person offers a compliment or love, or when you see somebody you're attracted to, do you feel a little shy? Instead of seeing that shyness as a weak point, can you embrace it? From the perspective of attachment theory, shyness could be viewed as a part of our yearning for connection and acceptance. Being gentle with our vulnerability, we may honor shyness as an entrance to a sweet moment of connection, as expressed in my book, The Authentic Heart. If you experience shyness, consider it a true blessing. Shyness is an entryway into a tender fold within your authentic heart. If you can allow yourself to experience shyness when it arises, if you can gently turn your attention to the place in your body that feels the shyness, then it becomes a good friend, not a hazard. Embraced shyness changes into sweet taste. As your tolerance for shyness grows, there are greater possibilities for developments into the exhilarating enjoyment of connecting. The shadow side of shyness. The shadow side of shyness is that we might distance ourselves from people before providing a real chance. If we were typically shamed or turned down, we might see the world through the distorted lens of old hurts and presume people are unsafe without checking them out. At the first hint of being slammed, we may catch the knee-jerk response of diverting our eyes or shutting down. We may judge others as being risky before connecting with them. To progress, maybe we should give people an actual chance. This would require that we stay present with our shyness without responding automatically. Developing a stronger sense of self, we recognize that it is okay to be shy and sensitive. If others are extreme or shaming, this says more about them than about us. Not enabling others to specify us, we keep holding onto our self-regard and self-respect. We protect ourselves by meeting what comes our way with a more tough self. Social anxiety might keep us holding onto the comfort of staying home, which can keep us separated. This condition might enhance with psychotherapy. Shyness, on the other hand, is something we can value about ourselves, and we walk into the world with a quiet dignity. Honoring our shyness as a sweet and tender part of ourselves, we can connect more quickly and less self-consciously with people who really appreciate us. Chapter 3: The Top 5 Ways to Make Small Talk Worth the Trouble. Do you dislike making small talk? Do you dread parties where you have to spend hours listening to mindless gossip and irritating bragging about other individuals' children? Do you hate going to your spouse or partner's business functions? Or perhaps you go because you're a pretty good sport, but fear each minute of it. Are you worried about all of the weddings you have to attend this year, where you'll need to sit around making small talk with associates you have no desire to learn more about better? Do you avoid happy hour with your colleagues because you do not want to loaf making idle conversation while trying not to get intoxicated? But then do you stress that not going might have effect how your supervisor sees you, or that if you can make yourself go, you will get extra points in the gets along well with colleagues column on your next assessment? If you answered yes to any of the above, you are not alone. Maybe you're shy or introverted, or just tired or irritated by apparently unlimited chatter. You might be surprised to learn that making trivial conversation is not only a crucial social skill, but it can make those happy hours less painful, earn you additional points, and give you critical information about some of the best ways to work with some of your associates and perhaps even your boss. It will also make family events, wedding events, and other social occasions a lot more interesting and open doors to new relationships, new opportunities, or even a new relationship. In my early years as a psychotherapist, I learned that asking about the small, supposedly unimportant specifics about a client's life could provide crucial info and open parts of exploration that might have otherwise taken years to get to. Just recently, a coworker told me about a young athlete who was referred to her simply because he participated in harmful behaviors. She didn't confront him about the activities straight, but just asked him to tell her as much as she could about his daily exercise regimens. As often happens, one detail resulted in another, and eventually he was sharing his own issues about his activities. A few simple strategies can make these experiences practically pain free for even the most casual conversation averse amongst us. Number one, pay more attention to the little things. Psychoanalyst Harry Stack Sullivan actually believed that the real nature of a customer's problems could be found in the small specifics of that person's experience. You do not want to try to do treatment or to dig out deep, dark secrets at a very happy hour or a wedding event, or any social function for that matter. But asking for more information about an obvious, unimportant topic is a way of making conversation. Ask for more, not less. You could be amazed about what you learn more about your associates, good friends, family members, and even perfect complete strangers. At a party recently, a guy began to tell me about all of the different coffees he had been attempting. As a non coffee drinker, I was not specifically interested, but he was clearly engaged, so rather than walk off or try to find somebody else to speak to, I listened to his description of all of the different sorts of coffees there are in the world. Then I asked him what he drank at home and why. One small, apparently insignificant thing caused another, till he shared another part of his interest in coffee. Some years earlier, he became included with an organization that was attempting to help poor farmers in South America develop environmentally sound farming methods that would also bring in greater income. In order to cut down the region's attraction to the environmentally damaging beef industry or illegal drug cartels. Now, this interested me significantly. From what looked like it was going to be a boring and self centered monologue, we got into a fascinating discussion that was soon signed up with by some other individuals. Number two, consider small talk as a first step in a process. Asking what someone does for a living or where they grew up is not just an opening gambit. It's a way of saying, I'm interested in who you are. Listening and talking about small specifics and including your own 2 cents can take you further than you might think. My husband and I just met one another just because I asked him where he was from. It ended up that we were both transplanted Southerners living in New York City and reverse commuting to work in these suburban areas. We had grown up in neighboring towns, although our youth experiences had been extremely different. However, in that first discussion, as we shared the little specifics of our distinctions, we also learned that we had many unexpected things in common. Number three, Talking about apparently unimportant aspects of daily life can lead to deeper discussions because it makes everyone feel comfortable. When you share little specifics about yourself, you feel that they are being familiar with who you truly are. On the other hand, when you listen to the little points of information they share with you, you communicate that you are interested in who they are, and they will feel more comfortable with you. All of this can result in a sense of connection and intimacy. Number 4, small talk can also protect you. As you listen to the little pieces of information that an individual shares with you, you get an actual chance to make an evaluation about whether or not you feel comfortable with them. Do you like the way he discusses other people? Does she seem too critical, mad, dissatisfied for your taste? Tiny details communicate big pieces of info. Does this person say things that distress you? Pay close attention to your physical responses as well. Do they stand too near to you? Too far? Do they touch you more than you like? How a person communicates physically is very important and can be easier to evaluate when you're making casual conversation than when you are into a deeply serious discussion. Number 5, still tired? Try to honestly examine what's going on. It may be that you're restless about what sort of impression you are making on this other person. A client who was having trouble meeting men once told me that whenever she met a man she liked, she started thinking of jelly donuts, which cleaned every other consideration of her mind. We eventually found that she was so concerned about being turned down that she just left the room, at the very least in her mind. After she began attempting to concentrate on the little details of what a man was saying, she stopped thinking about donuts, and previously too long, she was dating. But if the problem is that you just do not care what brand name of diapers a young mom has tried, or how clever a father thinks his young kid is, or if you truly do not want to really know more about what color paint someone has chosen for their bedroom, you really don't need to keep listening. You have each right to move on to somebody or something else. Just keep another thing in mind. Move on as tactfully as you possibly can. You never know when the individual you are moving away from may be important to you. They could be an associate's buddy or your next date's cousin. Leave a really good impression when you can, and then remind yourself that casual conversation can be an invaluable way to learn about people, the world, and even yourself. Chapter 4, How to be less uncomfortable at ending small talk. Ending a small talk conversation can be challenging business. You have other things to do. Maybe you really need to go back at your desk or have another call to make. Or perhaps you are at a celebration and want to have an actual chance to consult with somebody else. You certainly don't want to leave a conversation with hurt feelings, but you also don't want to unnecessarily prolong it. So, how can you increase the chances that the work you have done to build a relationship will not go down the tubes with an uncomfortable ending? Number 1, offering rationale for ending the discussion. Rationales serve two purposes. They provide a clarification for why you are signifying an end to the conversation, which gets you off the hook, and they suggest that you've delighted in the conversation. which increases the chances of a future interaction. Here are some examples. I need to go in some minutes, but before I go, I'd really love to hear a bit more about whatever you were talking about. I have to go, but I truly like your advice about whatever you were going over. I'll keep you in the loop about how it goes. I am enjoying this conversation, but I notice that it's 9:30 and I have to be home at 10. If it is okay with you, I am going to go, but let's talk again. Number 2, leverage your immediate surroundings. Use what's in your immediate environments to help build your reasoning. For example, if there's a beverage table close by, ask your coworker if they want to get a drink. Understanding full well that you may either get broken up in the crowd or encounter other people along the way, hence ending the discussion naturally. Number 3, make an introduction. Another organic way to smooth an exit is to introduce your conversational partner to someone else as a way to end a discussion and to help 2 additional people make a connection. Number 4, foreshadow the ending. Whenever we provide bad news, it's good to let somebody know it is coming. And though ending small talk isn't a major source of bad news, it can still dissatisfy. So, cushion the blow by previewing your departure ahead of time. I promised my friend that I introduce him to a person, but before I do, I'd really love to hear a little bit more about. Number 5, remember, you might not be the only one wanting to get out of the discussion. Finally, remember that if you're itching to end the conversation, you may not be alone. Most people socializing at a public event know the offer. You talk for a while and after that, move on. The trick is doing it in an elegant manner that maintains the relationship you have built. So, do not worry about hurting the other individual's emotions by ending the conversation. They could be thinking the precise same thing. Chapter 5, Go Beyond Small Talk. If you'd rather not go over the weather, skip it. A research study asserts that happy people have more substantive discussions than the ones who engage solely in small talk. The data don't reveal whether profound discussion triggers joy or vice versa, but a combination of both is likely. Trivial conversation is an advantageous social ability, even a way to enter into deeper discussion. Study co-author Matthias Mayle of the University of Arizona acknowledges, but intimacy is needed to build and maintain real bonds. Kirsten Volkovic. Skip the chit-chat. Mayle offers 4 ways to encourage more satisfying discussions. Dare to divulge. Substantive discussions don't really need to be driven by feeling. They can be about politics, innovation, even what you watched on television, but they should include some personal disclosure. Next time you're having a discussion, try inserting something exposing about yourself. You could be surprised how the other person opens. Be a full individual. Give your full attention when you're speaking with a person, instead of going through that laundry list of to-dos in your head, and you will undoubtedly have a more involved face-to-face way to do it. Find commonalities. Mel says people try to find commonality as a way into having more profound discussions. If you can recognize that commonalities You were on your way to having more significant exchanges. You're from Los Angeles? Me too. I also work in financing. Can you believe California is more in debt than Greece? Embrace your environment. Find a location where you feel safe and confident. For some people, that could be a corner of a crowded coffee house. For others, a secluded part of a park. Whether a conversation is one-on-one or in a group, it is very important to go somewhere everybody feels comfortable. When people feel relaxed, guards decrease. The conversations you will have will astonish you. Chapter 6: Social Anxiety Disorder. Social anxiety disorder, previously referred to as social phobia, is an anxiety disorder characterized by frustrating anxiety and extreme self-consciousness in everyday social circumstances. Individuals with social anxiety disorder have a persistent, intense, and persistent fear of being watched and judged by others, and of being embarrassed or humiliated by their own actions. Their fear might be so extreme that it interferes with work, school, or other activities. While lots of people with social anxiety disorder recognize that their fear of being around people might be excessive or unreasonable, they're unable to conquer it. They typically worry for days or weeks in advance of a dreaded circumstance. Aside from that, they usually experience low self-confidence and depression. Social anxiety disorder can be limited to only one type of situation, like a fear of public speaking, or an individual can experience signs whenever they are around other individuals. If left neglected, social phobia can have serious consequences. An example could be this: it might keep people from going to work or school or prevent them from making friends. Physical signs, which often accompany the intense stress of social anxiety disorder, include blushing, sweating, trembling, nausea, and trouble speaking. Because these noticeable signs heighten the fear of displeasure, they themselves can become an additional focus of fear, creating a vicious cycle. As individuals with social anxiety disorder worry about experiencing these symptoms, the greater their chances are of developing them. Social anxiety disorder typically runs in families and might be joined by depression or other anxiety conditions, like panic attack or obsessive compulsive disorder. Many people with social anxiety disorder self-medicate with alcohol or other drugs, which can cause dependency. About 7% of the US population is approximated to have social anxiety disorder within a given 12-month period. Social anxiety disorder takes place about twice as usual in women as in men, although a higher proportion of men seek help for the condition. The disorder generally begins in childhood or early adolescence and seldom develops after age 25. Symptoms: a diagnosis of social anxiety disorder is made only if this avoidance, fear, or restless anticipation of a social or performance situation interferes with everyday regimen, occupational performance, and social life, or if there is marked distress as a consequence of the anxiety. The DSM-5 offers the following criteria for identifying social anxiety disorder. The individual fears one or more social or performance circumstances in which she or he is exposed to possible examination by others. Examples include meeting unknown people, being observed, eating or drinking, or given a speech or performance. The individual fears acting in a manner that causes humiliation or being negatively evaluated. Exposure to social circumstances usually causes intense anxiety. The feared circumstance is avoided or endured with anxiety and distress. The fear or anxiety is out of percentage to the real risk presented by the social circumstance. The fear or anxiety is persistent and usually lasts for 6 months or longer. The avoidance, restless anticipation, or distress interferes substantially with the individual's social, academic, or occupational functioning. The physical signs of social anxiety disorder include the following: blushing, sweating, shivering, experiencing a fast heart rate, or feeling the mind going blank, nausea or upset stomach, displaying a rigid body posture, poor eye contact, or speaking too quietly. Furthermore, the diagnosis can describe if the anxiety or fear is present only when the individual is speaking or performing in public. Chapter 7: The Specifics of a Social Life. An individual's social life includes the various bonds they form with others, like family, good friends, members of their community, and strangers. It can be gauged by the duration and quality of the social interactions they have on a routine basis, both face to face and online. How essential is your social life? Human beings are social animals, and the tenor of a person's social life is one of the most important impacts on their psychological and physical health. Without positive, long-lasting relationships, both body and minds can break down. Individuals start life reliant for survival on the quality of their relationships with their primary caregiver, typically their mom. Mankind's survival as a species likewise hinges on the capability for social living. Most of human history was spent in little groups in which each individual depended on others for survival. Evidence suggests that this is the condition to which human beings are best adapted. Innovation has changed the ways people engage with others in their lives, but it has not impacted the basic need to form supportive bonds with others. What is the significance of social interaction? Humans are a social species, driven by a desire for community and belonging. Social interactions feed that need. They are also useful from an evolutionary standpoint. Social interactions help people build communication skills and work together to achieve a common goal, as revealed by this research on friendly foxes. What are different types of social interaction? Social interaction takes place between groups of two, dyads, or more people. They may be more transactional, with one party attempting to get the other to behave a particular way, or they may be more cooperative and designated to provide shared enjoyment. Research studies suggest that the quantity of social interaction matters. Spending more time around others can increase an individual's joy and satisfaction with life? Is it okay to be a loner? Individuals tend to withdraw from social life for a range of reasons. They might be shy, prone to avoidance, naturally unsocial, turned down by their peers, or they may simply enjoy spending time alone. While lots of people end up being loners out of fear and anxiety, not all motivations are hazardous. Many people, like hermits, can get great satisfaction out of leading a solitary life. Is it unhealthy to have no good friends? In life, it is very important to be comfortable enough at communicating with people to get your fundamental needs met. But how deep do those relationships really need to grow? While you may long for closer relationships, they simply aren't necessary to your survival or perhaps your happiness. What does matter is how comfortable and content you are with being alone. How many good friends does the average individual have? There is no right number of good friends that somebody should have. What matters is the individual's perception of the quality of their friendships and how much fulfillment they get at the same time. How can I enhance my social life? Comprehending how to establish and maintain supportive connections in any medium is a vital part of life. Most people who live alone specifically benefit from cultivating a strong network of social connections. Individuals have the freedom today to build their specific social accomplice both online and offline. Their social circles may include family, good friends, professional coaches, and other important people in their lives. Online social ties can be a powerful source of social support and happiness, particularly for people who are isolated for geographic or other reasons. There is, though, no substitute for face-to-face interaction, and the ones who spend time amongst family and friends report higher levels of well-being than people with fewer ties in reality. How can I be a social person? Making friends may look like a mysterious process, but it's actually rooted in some standard social truths. For example, it's easiest to develop friendships with people who are in close proximity, share comparable interests, and support your social identity. Keeping a friendship needs you to be supportive, disclose personal info, interact routinely, and be more positive than negative on balance. Why it is harder to make friends when you're older. A lot of people find it hard to make new good friends as grown-ups. As they age, most of their time and energy get consumed by profession and family needs. They tend to interact socially out of benefit with colleagues, managers, the parents of their children's friends, and so forth. But these relationships usually do not deepen into anything more long-lasting. How do I make friends as a grown-up? Unlike some childhood experiences, adult friendships don't just magically happen as a result of luck. The secret to making good friends as a grown-up is that you have to put yourself out there, show up at events, even when you don't want to, and actively engage with others who may share your interests. Existing and having a favorable attitude can go a long way to opening up the possibility for a much deeper friendship. Chapter 8: Social Comparison Theory. People continuously assess themselves and others in domains like attractiveness, wealth, intelligence, and success. According to some research studies, as much as 10% of our thoughts include comparisons of some kind. Social contrast concept is the idea that people decide on their own social and personal worth based upon how they compare to others. The theory was developed in 1954 by psychologist Leon Festinger. Later research has revealed that people who regularly compare themselves to others might find motivation to improve, but could also experience emotions of deep discontentment, guilt, or remorse, and take part in devastating behaviors like lying or disordered eating. The benefits of contrast. When individuals compare themselves to others as a way of measuring their personal development or to encourage themselves to enhance and, in the process, develop a more positive self image, contrast can be advantageous. It takes discipline, though, to avoid the pitfalls of negative contrast. In big part, how we react to comparisons depends upon who we compare ourselves to. When we just want to feel better about ourselves, we tend to take part in contrast to people worse off than we are, although this can end up being an unhealthy practice. When we want to enhance, however, we could compare ourselves to people about comparable to us, but higher accomplishing in one trait or another. How can contrast help you? Social contrast can be highly useful when people use social networks to push themselves. In a research study, friendly competition was highly efficient in pushing people to work out more, as peers pushed each other to keep up and do more. In such a social cog impact, everyone's activity produces more activity, to name a few. Social networks in which people simply offered one another positive encouragement were far less helpful. Is it better to compare yourself to those doing better or even worse than you are? People generally take part in either upward or downward contrasts. In upward contrasts, we compare ourselves with those we believe are better than us in some way. In down comparisons, we do the opposite. Research, unsurprisingly, finds that down contrasts make us feel better about ourselves, but that there are dangers to each method: insecurity and jealousy, or overconfidence and conceit. Can covet ever be a favorable feeling? Envy is generally an unpleasant feeling that can cause brooding, resentment, or even violence. Some psychologists, however, have suggested that people can experience benign envy in which they use jealous emotions as motivation to enhance themselves. Benign envy could lead someone, for instance, to try to replicate the best qualities of a person who has what they want. The dangers of comparison. Theodore Roosevelt called comparison the thief of delight, and he may have been right. Social comparisons can motivate people to enhance, but it can also promote judgmental, prejudiced, and excessively competitive or superior mindsets. The majority of people have the social skills and impulse control to keep their requirements for social contrast to themselves, and not to act on any envy or bitterness spurred by comparison making, though their true feelings could manifest in other ways. Why can comparisons make people feel bad? Contrasts are likelier to make us feel bad when we make the mistake of only comparing ourselves to apotheosis of certain traits. For instance, many people believe they have a less active social life than others. But when making such contrasts, people tend to compare themselves only to the most social people they know. Comprehending this bias can help us make more realistic and motivating comparisons. Is social media harmful to self-esteem? Continuously checking social media feeds full of pictures from parties, concerts, or other aspirational events can reduce self-esteem and add to depression. However, some studies have found out that such risks primarily influence those high in the quality of neuroticism, and others suggest that social media use can reinforce self-esteem. For instance, when people review their own images of great times with friends. How can I stop comparing myself to others? To be less vulnerable to uncomfortable contrasts, see the people or events that trigger the behavior. Commit to being deeply grateful for what is good in your own life. And remember that the human tendency to want what others have is such a time waster, unless what you see and yearn for in another is something of deep worth, such as their generosity or generosity. Comparison and bias. Many people fall into the trap of positional predisposition, comparing up more frequently than down relative to their own standing. A fascination with star civilization and the prevalence of carefully manicured social media feeds only worsens the impact by revealing people to an unlimited stream of others' relatively flawless images, homes, jobs, abilities, and families. What's the better than average impact? It's been widely shown that people tend to believe that they are above average when it comes to preferable characteristics such as intelligence. Still, the belief could not be so steady. For example, people are typically fast to report that they're smarter than typical, but rather more simple than asked to place themselves in a specific percentile or to rate themselves on specific abilities. Are guys or women more likely to think they're better than average? 2/3 of Americans believe their intelligence is above average, but guys are much more very likely to inflate themselves than women. In studies, more than 70% of men mention that they are smarter than average, compared to about 60% of women, and they're much more likely to strongly concur that they are smarter than average. Why do narcissists really need to outshine everyone else? Grandiosity is a core quality of many people high in narcissism, but seeing themselves as remarkable also needs seeing everybody else as below them. Research finds that while many people are driven by a real need for social addition and approval, those high in narcissism are motivated by a real need for status, to stand above a group instead of being welcomed into it. This has been How to Talk to Anyone, Social Anxiety, Shyness, and Body Language Explained. Written by Craig Yeager. Narrated by Queenie Walsh.